that we're intelligent. A lot of us think that we know the teachings, but in fact we don't know the teachings. But I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to get deeper in that later, but because I know some of us have ADS and we don't like to pay attention, and some of us think we know, and some of us want to be on Facebook just banging on the keyboard trying to prove points, but your points are not substantiated by actual fact. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'm going to say a couple of things regarding white folks, and I hope that what I say to you causes you to go back and read and understand and reapply this new understanding with your present day understanding, and you might see that there's a flaw in your mathematics. This is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to get too deep, but I want to show you something when it deals with the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. First, in coming into the Nation of Islam, we are told that we're supposed to memorize the actual facts and the student enrollment. These two things, the actual facts and the student enrollment, are basically the entrance exam or the passport into the God's class, which is the FOI or the MGT GCC. Our ability to learn by heart and repeat verbatim the actual facts in the student enrollment is what gets us in the class, okay? Which allows us now to receive our X, get rid of the devil's name, and thereby move further within the classroom of who? Master Farad Muhammad or Allah in person, correct? Alright, so if we at any point forget our actual facts, or at any point forget the student enrollment, that which gets us into the class, then we can safely say that we already have one foot in hypocrisy, because that which got us in the class we no longer think about, we no longer memorize, we no longer know. Therefore, how serious are we taking the teachings if we allow ourselves to forget that which gets us in the class? Let's make it simple. What's the password? If you knock on the door and someone says, what's the password, and you don't give the password, you're not allowed to go into the classroom. Well, what is it about the actual facts in the student enrollment? What impact does it have in our thought process and our understanding that would allow us to continue on in the class? Or do we think that the actual facts are irrelevant? Or do we think we understand the impact of the actual facts and the student enrollment on our thinking processes that allows us to grow into greater and greater understandings? What I'm saying is, if you go back to your student enrollment and you go back to your actual facts and you memorize them by heart, you will start realizing that they have an indelible impression on your mind, and you might realize that the flaw of your thinking is that you've stepped into spook land, but you perceive it not, because you've abandoned the student enrollment and the actual facts. Now, there's 20 actual facts, and there's 10 student enrollment questions. One of the questions at the end, question number 9, is what is the birth record of the said Nation of Islam? And then it says the said Nation of Islam has no birth record. It has no beginning nor no ending. Now, why is that question asked? The Nation of Islam has no beginning, it has no ending. It's to establish the fact that the Nation of Islam, regardless of what you do within the universe, no matter what you do within your own school of thought, no matter what you do within your own household, the prevalent reality is that the Nation of Islam is in the beginning, the Nation of Islam is at the end. Therefore, the Nation of Islam is constant. Regardless if we understand or not, the Nation of Islam is constant. That means the Nation of Islam existed before Prophet Muhammad. That means the peace and blessings be upon him. That means the Nation of Islam existed after Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. That means the Nation of Islam existed before Master Farad Muhammad, and it means that it exists after Master Farad Muhammad in a physical way. The Nation of Islam is all wise, right, and exact, and it is consistent throughout the universe. In other words, there's no universe without the Nation of Islam. Now, that's important because I'm going to make some more points in future videos, and I want you to understand and grasp hold of that fact as we continue to make other points that I feel is relevant, and is one of the reasons why I think some of you all, out of your ignorance, is coming to faulty conclusions, but others of you all know exactly what I'm saying, but you're creating mischief and you're shedding blood amongst the righteous people, telling lies because you have a personal vendetta against the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Those individuals I call hypocrites. Those individuals are called agents. Not to confuse agents and hypocrites with who? With the weak Muslims. Now, this is what we're going to say now. This next question, question number 10, which is the last question of the student enrollment, which is relevant in its order, is what is the birth record of said others than Islam? What is the birth record of said others of Islam? The answer is Buddhism is 35,000 years old, and Christianity is 551 years old. Now, why is that relevant? Here we go. For all of you all who have a problem with white people, and again, I have a problem with white people. Let's put white people in perspective. First of all, in order to understand the lessons and understand the mission of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we have to put them in the proper time and we have to put them in the proper perspective. Therefore, we have to study our mathematical theology in the proper term. Term meaning time, term meaning mean. The average man speaks 400 words considered well. Are you an average man? Are you an average woman? Are you less than average or are you better than average? The bottom line is there's something about these words which the devil uses with technology. See, he makes a translation, and there's something about these words that's flipping our minds up, which is preventing us to get a better or greater understanding. Why? What is the birth record of said others than Islam? Buddhism is 35,000 years old. Christianity is 551 years old. Let's establish a point of reference. First of all, in the beginning was the nation of Islam. In the end is the nation of Islam. But 35,000 years ago, somebody created Buddhism, and Buddhism is what? Buddhism is something different than Islam. Buddhism is what? It is a religion. Buddhism has what? It has a beginning. Therefore, it has an ending. Does the nation of Islam have a beginning? No and yes. It began with the universe. Does the nation of Islam have an ending? No and yes. It ends with the universe. If you can destroy the universe, you destroy Islam. Can you destroy the universe? Emphatically, no. So what does that mean? It has no beginning, nor does it have an ending. Now, Buddhism has a beginning. Now, this is what I want you to understand. Some of you all might not understand this. Some of you, again, might understand this. Understand. Buddhism, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his writings, Theology of Time, and in his lecture series, as well as his many writings in book form, as well as his articles, he would interchange Buddhism with Hinduism, Hinduism with Buddhism. Both he references to the beginning of 35,000 years ago. Why is this relevant to everybody who has an issue with white people? Listen. White people are an issue based on the time that we live in right now, and you got to understand that Master Farad Muhammad came in white flesh to do what? To offer judgment to white people as well as black people, but because of the mentality that we existed in, we had to learn a dramatic truth about white people. This is the truth. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad also said, though, in the Theology of Time, that if we stick with him,